Yes, viewers, this is all that's happened in the last few hours after that SC rule, in fact, came in, or the order rather came in from the United States Supreme Court. Now, let us take you through all that's happened so far, and now it's culminated to this 10% additional tariffs being announced by Donald Trump. Donald Trump has struck again after the US Supreme Court's decision to strike down his sweeping tariffs. Now, the court ruled that Trump exceeded his authority when he imposed tariffs using emergency powers. They said he needs congressional approval to impose those very tariffs. That's what the Constitution at least lays down in terms of rules on these tariffs. But refusing to bow down, Trump has instead doubled down, announcing 10% additional tariffs on all nations across the globe using the powers under Section 122. Now, let us tell you that Trump is insisting that the ruling won't constrain him. And Trump has sharply criticized the verdict that's come out from the Supreme Court, calling the justices a disgrace, labeling the very decision unpatriotic, and claiming that Democrats are thrilled by this very ruling. Meanwhile, Trump also claimed that the US-India trade deal remains unchanged. He also praised Prime Minister Modi once again, calling him a fantastic man who's much smarter than the others.
I'm standing right in front of the Supreme Court of the United States. Now, this is the building where a decision was made that sent shockwaves across the globe. Today, the Supreme Court of the United States decided that the tariffs that were used by President Trump, the tariffs that were issued using an executive order by President Trump, has been ruled illegal, in the sense that these tariffs certainly should not have been issued under an executive order. The Supreme Court made it pretty clear that the president does not have authority to issue these tariffs under or by using an executive order. Now, what does that mean essentially? What essentially it means is that the last 10 months, whatever has happened, whatever authority President Trump thought he had to impose these tariffs, to use this as a weapon, which he's said multiple times, that does not stand ground. That does not hold legal ground in the United States, meaning that in the last 10 months, the tariffs that have been collected by the US Treasury, that were not supposed to be done via an executive order. Now, that leaves President Trump with two choices. First, we heard from his own press conference where he talked about using additional powers that he has by levying 10% add-on tariffs on whatever tariffs we have right now, and he used the 1974 Trade Act to do that. He also said he's directing Section 302 of another power that he has, which would launch investigation, giving enough time to understand which categories he wants to put tariffs on, and that is a power that he does have. But the first thing, the 10% tariffs are only going to be temporary for 5 months. So it does give him a little bit of time to understand how he wants to proceed with putting these tariffs. Now, there's another thing that's happened. Now, across from me is the Capitol Hill. If I could show you from my camera, this is where another big thing can happen. Now, if you look behind me, that's right there is the Capitol Hill, and Senator Lindsey Graham, he has a bill that has a support of about 80 senators ready to go, that could give President Trump a broad power in implementing and pushing those tariffs. Now, we've seen Lindsey Graham talk about it in the past. He said, this is a bill ready to go. It only needs a go-ahead from President Trump. And we'll have to wait and watch how that bill pans out in the Senate, and then it would go to the House, making and giving President Trump and any other president thereafter powers to use tariff as a weapon. So we'll have to wait and watch. But the big news right here from the Supreme Court of the United States is that President Trump's tariffs have been overturned. They were deemed illegal by the Supreme Court of the United States. And President Trump, in his press conference, said he's very disappointed with the ruling from the Supreme Court, and he's going to use additional powers that he has under certain acts to allow himself to still use tariffs. This is Rohit Sharma reporting for India Today from Washington, D.C.